was a
They were
crime
completely
scene.
uncompetitive football games too. That was what pissed me off even more. It was like there wasn't even one interesting game.
I know. Not only was there blowouts, but I was on the wrong side of all three of them.
We played fine.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live. I feel like I was kind of like left without a choice, and I feel like a lot of people felt this way about the games, where it's like some of the games it was like, well, how do you lay 4 with Jacksonville State, but at the same time, why is the line 4? Or it's like you kind of felt like you had to take it because there weren't numbers to support the other side, but clearly somewhere out there had sharp angles on Jacksonville State that was 100% the right side. So whoever bet that up to 4.5, clearly saw something I didn't. And you know what? Same goes for Boise State, because I think on paper that should have been a field goal game, but clearly the market kept that up at 4.5. So whoever was on the Boise State side had it right. So clearly I just wasn't seeing it properly. The Tulane Army game, whatever. I think Tulane just kind of quit on the season. So I don't really.
Somebody just nailed it. Somebody said conference championships, home field advantage is bullshit. I agree. There's no way that they should be playing conference championships at all. Credit to Boise State. They have one of the best environments in college football. I don't think it's necessarily fair that like it was that significant of an advantage.
I don't understand. I mean, if the MAC can get Ford Field, you'd think that they could get neutral sites. I mean,
exactly. Well, the problem is Mountain West.
Toast says this.
I'm just saying, West Coast. These conferences on the West Coast don't waste money. They put it all in their pocket.
The MAC. Oh, I guess the MAC isn't West Coast.
The Mountain West would love to have their game in Vegas, but they can't do that because UNLV would be the home team. They can't do that.
I'm sure there's somewhere.
They played it at Allegiant. I don't understand how that gives UNLV any crazy advantage.
Play it in Mile High.
That would be
dope. Better.
Right. Well, it's Mountain West. That'd be sick.
That would be dope.
It seems like the conferences have their conference championship at the kind of the NFL stadium that's in the middle of their conference.
Yeah.
Usually they're domes, but yeah, I get what you mean. Except for ACC, interesting.
Usually they're domes.
Is there something wrong with domes? I'm not even talking shit. I just didn't know.
I hate that.
He's saying it probably wouldn't be Mile High because usually they're domes.
Oh, okay, I got you.
All right, we got some college basketball. Hopefully, while we're watching this, the Timberwolves finish this off. I need Minnesota, man. I had a rough night. Minnesota is my top NBA bet, and I got it at plus 106. So if I get the Timberwolves money line, I'll at least stop the bleeding a bit. It'll still be a bad night, but I'll at least stop the bleeding a bit.
You know what the worst feeling is in the world? Is like having a bad night over and over again, and then I finally have a night where I literally haven't lost a bet tonight, and everybody else around me is losing bets left and right. It's like,
what did you go 6-0 tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, at least somebody had a good one. Me and Andy didn't. Now the comments are saying Andy's picks are bad. They just like switch.
My college basketball bet today. It's rare that I'll say this. I was on the right side. Sienna should have won the game. You hit 2 free throws, and they literally would have won the game. There's nothing I can do about that.
They're saying Andy's picks are bad. Now, tonight, Andy will go 5-0, and I'll have a bad one. They'll be like, oh, Kyle's picks are bad. You got to fade Kyle. Then the next night, I'll have a good one. They'll be like, oh, you got to tail Kyle. You got to fade Toast. Dude. Yep. All right. Kansas State, St. John's. Kelly in Vegas is at this game, by the way. Saw on her Twitter. I love Kelly.
We are live.
It's all right. I don't say anything weird. But yeah, they're honoring somebody here.
Lou her?
Yes.
They're not honoring
Lou
her.
Carnesecca. It's Carnesecca.
Carnesecca, that's who it is.
Passed away, I think, Saturday, I think it was.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious what Tosa has to say here.
I've already laid it.
What happened? You laid it already?
Oh yeah, 9.5. I guess it's 10.5 now, but whatever.
As I love, obviously, it's very clear I'm a huge St. John's fan in terms of I like watching their team, and I think they're very good this year. I think it's a little too high. I know this is the difference is I thought this game was going to be at MSG. This game is at Carnesecca Arena. They tend to play very, very well there on campus. It's a tight little gym. That's not something Kansas State is exactly wanting to do. The only thing that says the only reason I haven't bet this yet, the number moving up this much scares me. I don't know why everyone in the world's on St. John's. I think it could be because Kansas State they might just be flat out bad. They've played one good opponent, and Liberty's not even really that good, and they lost to Liberty. They might just be flat out bad. So I would lean Kansas State just because I think the number's high, but I'm not betting this game. This one's my main pass.
Toast laid it.
Yeah, I laid it. Kansas State, obviously, like Andy just touched on a couple things. Well, a couple things I want to touch on as well. Andy said it first with St. John's playing in the small arena, not MSG. I think that's a huge advantage to St. John's. Anytime that St. John's plays in MSG, I think that really takes the advantage away from them. Second of all, with Kansas State, like I just mentioned, first true road game for them. They really didn't look good in their other two neutral games. One of them was against Longwood, who's absolutely terrible. Top or like a 200-ish team in Ken Palm, and the other one, like Andy touched on, was Liberty, where they lost by 2. Obviously, St. John's is much better than both of those teams. Not to mention the fact that the height advantage for St. John's, I think, is going to play a bigger factor here today. They're 53 in height. Not to what is it? Kansas State. Where is my notes? 113 in height. The Johnnies are 35th in pace, and they've seen a lot of slow teams as well. And that's another thing that I think plays into St. John's hands, is that they've seen teams like Cleveland State that plays 305, Mississippi Valley State 361, Liberty 348. I mean, so they've seen teams that can run this slow pace that Kansas State's going to try to do. Coupled with the fact that Carnesecca died and all that stuff, I just think this is a really good smash spot for the Johnnies. And I don't really like laying big numbers, and I'm actually said I'm not a big believer in the Johnnies, but I think that for one, I like the fact that they scheduled that Harvard game in between these two, because after that Georgia loss, which was a fantastic game, either team could have won that game. There's no really layover. I like the fact that they got their legs underneath them at home, and now they play a Kansas State team that I think that are head and shoulders better. So I made St. John's minus 12.5. So to get them under 10, I took it. I would still play it up to 11.
Big 3 there from Conley. That was huge. Stop the bleeding. Golden State's coming back.
Kansas State also played LSU and didn't look good in that one either. So they played two I would call solid opponents and didn't look good. So I can understand why people are
solid opponents. And the common theme with those two solid opponents, LSU 59th in offensive adjusted efficiency, Liberty number 105. All the other teams they played: New Orleans 342, Cleveland State 319, Mississippi Valley State 363, Arkansas Pine Bluff 330, Longwood 228. And like I just mentioned, that Longwood win wasn't as impressive as you would think. So anytime that this Kansas State team has seen an offense that's somewhat feasible, they've struggled mightily. Not to mention the fact that defense goes the same way. All those teams, the only other two teams that they've played or that have decent defenses is LSU at 47 and Liberty at 41. But St. John's comes in at the top 15 defense in the country. So if St. John's is engaged, they should win this game by double digits easily.
We are now on to Nebraska, Michigan State. Huskers catching 6.5. Andy is a Nebraska apologist. For those of you that didn't watch the March Madness programming last year, Andy is a Nebraska apologist. Is that three-point shooter still there?
No, Tominaga, no.
Where's he at?
I think he's in the G
Probably
League.
putting the fries in the bag.
Jesus.
I'm just saying.
The kid was splashing. I mean, he's got a shot.
Yeah, he was. At Nebraska.
I'm looking it up now. What's his name?
I don't even know how to spell it. Tominaga. It would be
Nebraska's guard. Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be Tominaga.
I got it. He's he's on the Indiana Mad Ants.
That's a G League team. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, so
he's in the G
right.
League.
So he's telling people to put fries in the bag. Got it. Okay.
Gotcha.
Good call. Great call from the blonde ref. I think that was a bad call, but it went in my favor.
Blondie. Shut out Blondie.
Love it. So Andy, do you believe in your Huskers here?
I have the under. This is not neither. This is kind of my cop out from picking side because there's nobody who also likes.
Who the hell graphic is this?
Oh, that's toast.
Oh,
did I not put the graphic for the under in there? That should be in there.
No, I just scrolled past that. What the hell is that parlay?
Yeah. So I have the under here. I've always said I think home teams dictate pace, so I think that this will be more towards Michigan State's pace. But this is more to me. Neither one of these teams can hit 3-pointers. They don't shoot 3-pointers. I think at 147.5 is what we got it at. They're both shooting twos. They're both running like a medium pace. I don't know how this thing gets over. Michigan State's a very good defensive team. If you look at Nebraska, to this point, they've played two teams that I would say defend the three somewhat well. St. Mary's, they didn't win that. They lost that game. And then they faced, what was it? Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman has sneaky good numbers against the three this year defensively. They actually played a very close game with Bethune-Cookman. Probably shouldn't play close games with Bethune-Cookman. So if you can defend the 3 and you can defend inside, which is pretty much all Michigan. I mean, Michigan State is a defensive basketball team. You should be able to stop them from scoring. So I don't expect much scoring from Nebraska. And on the other side, Michigan State, they can't hit a 3 to save their life. They're 351st in 3-point percentage. They don't want to shoot threes, but they're not good at it when they try to. They want to score inside. Nebraska also really good at defending inside. So I don't see a lot of points being scored here. If I was picking a side, probably be on Sparty, but Sparty is also coming off a win on the road, and it wasn't particularly close, so that might be a fade spot for people. But I'm just taking the under. I don't expect a lot of points.
Curtis in the comments, any chance you can share the time of the game? There are 109 games to locate within the book. Yeah, you know what? People have asked for that, and I keep forgetting. Andy, can you put a reminder for when you get here on Monday? Because we got to add that to the temp. People have been asking for that for months, and we keep forgetting. So we'll find a spot on the screen to put the time, maybe right above my head, like right here for the game, or right above the total or something. We'll find a spot for it on the screen. We will add that.
That game's at 12. Oh, my time.
I have bad news, though, for Andy. Rodfather's against you. The Rodfather is against. Basically, he's calling Andy out. Here.
I get it. After tonight, I get it.
He says, bet over the total in Nebraska away or neutral games after a win by 15 points or more. That's actually not that crazy. Since the 2024 season, 8-0. And then he's got another one back-to-back here for the Rodfather, both on the over. Bet over the total in Fred Hoiberg games after winning 4 of their last 5. The over's record is 15-4. So basically, Rodfather is calling Andy a scrub right here. He's saying fade Andy.
He is not the only one. That is for sure.
All right, Toast, did you want to share this bum-ass parlay that I see here?
I'd love to show that bum-ass parlay that I'm
What the hell kind of bet is this, dude?
Andy, tell me which team loses. If any one of those teams, how does any of these teams lose?
Michigan would probably be the team, but I don't think
Michigan?
I don't think they're going. I knew you were going to react that way. I don't think any of those teams are going to lose. But if there was a team that I would bet to lose, it'd probably be Michigan.
Someone put hashtag respect the Rod.
Okay. I can't. Michigan's not losing to Iowa. I just want to throw that out there. They're going to win by 15 plus. As far as this game is concerned, I just don't really trust Nebraska. But what I will say is that I feel like Michigan State and St. Mary's are very similar to each other. And St. Mary's and Nebraska played a very close game on a neutral by only 3 points. But here's the thing about Nebraska that I just don't really want to get involved with them. That's their best loss or their only loss against St. Mary's, and then their best win was against Creighton. And I don't think that Creighton's that good of a basketball team as of right now. I understand they just got a big win, but besides that, they haven't shown me anything to make me think that they're that great of a basketball team at this point in the season. So a win against Creighton over number 42 Creighton doesn't really move the needle for me that much. And you're getting a Michigan State team that Andy's right. They can't shoot a lick to save their life, but you know what? They can defend at one of the highest levels in the country. They got big men that can play inside, and that Zappella kid, that Cooper kid, that Booker kid can all play really well. They shoot their free throws extremely well. One of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. Nebraska is very good at shooting free throws as well. But Sparty is another one thing that I love about them is that they use a lot of their guys. Again, I just don't see them losing this game to Nebraska, with Nebraska being on the road for only the second time. They did play an away game against Creighton, but again, it doesn't really do much for me. It doesn't really do much for me. So I didn't want to lay. I don't know what the number is now. 6.5. Yeah, I couldn't do that with Sparty, knowing that they can't shoot. And I would assume that, like, I agree with Andy. I would assume that they dictate the pace and try to keep this game as slow as possible. So it would be Smarty. I think Smarty wins, but I'm not laying 6.5 or 7 or whatever it is now.
I didn't hear anything I like there. Speaking of slow the game down, let's have a full possession here. Wolves make it 12. One more pass. Go Bear. Oh, my God, dude.
Let's go.
Go Bear. Go Bear. Offensive
That's your
lineman.
boy. That's your GOAT.
I mean, not my GOAT. I think he gets a bad rap.
Sounds like a
You
GOAT.
defended him.
No, I defend him because he's just, like, so hated, and people act like he sucks. And it's like,
he gave the world coronavirus. If it wasn't for him.
That, plus he got
–
they traded so much for him, too. So, like, that trade people look at and they're like, what the hell? But, I mean, they got exactly what they traded for. They wanted the number 1 interior defense, and they have it. Splash that.
I was going to say, isn't he like the best interior defender in the league?
Next up, we have Syracuse, Notre Dame. And someone said in the comments, Toast, do not say Notre Dame. He said, don't fade the kid.
Oh, that's probably Ronnie. He's got some weird.
Oh, that is Ronnie. That is Ronnie.
He's got some weird affection for Elijah
Ronnie. Change
Moore.
your Google name on that account to Ronnie, so people will recognize you. So because people in the Discord know who you are, but if you they're not going to recognize you.
He thinks that Elijah Moore is the best freshman in the country. Andy, your thoughts?
No. The best freshman in the country's playing for Georgia right now. But
oh my god.
Okay. Do you think really quickly? Do you think that they're all 5 of those kids that played at Mater Dei are going to get drafted?
I mean,
Cam, Newell, Cooper, the kid from
100%. Well,
Cooper Flag, obviously.
Yeah. I would say, yeah. I mean, for sure, Newell and Flag. They're both going to be probably top 15 picks. But yeah,
true.
I don't. What exactly did I text you?
Why is Notre Dame laying here, though? In all seriousness,
because Syracuse is terrible and they don't have their best player in JJ Starling, who broke his hand.
I didn't know that part. Okay.
That's what
I said to Toast in our group chat today. I said, "It's happening again. I want to take another Northeast team that sucks," and it worked with Georgetown. I kind of want to do it again here with Syracuse. What we know about Notre Dame to this point, and they started off 4-0 against Stonehill, Buffalo, Georgetown, North Dakota. Then they had a really, really hard schedule. Pretty much the only reason Elon was hard is because Elon's one of the tallest teams in the country. But pretty much every team they're playing now is really tall, can rebound well. They got out-rebounded by 13 to Georgia the other day. They're not a good rebounding team, Notre Dame. Facing a team that's pretty significantly taller than them, should be able to rebound.
Dude, let's go Qs.
I think it's a good opportunity. What happened?
No, I said Kyle, let me go when he's done before you make a decision.
All right. I kind of am liking Syracuse here. I watched Notre Dame play a game. I wasn't blown away by them. They did get to some loose balls, but there's a difference. I like betting a team like that catching points, not exactly laying 4.5. So, all right, Toast, let's hear your reason.
No, I was letting Andy finish. I didn't mean to cut him off.
But he wasn't saying anything compelling.
Another thing that Notre Dame does is they try to run a very slow pace. They want to make it a crawl, like Toast says. Syracuse does that as well. So they're going to be playing a team that knows how to match up with that. That has also been an issue for Notre Dame because a lot of the teams they recently played, Houston, although Houston kind of tries to run a crawl, but Houston's much better than them. Rutgers, Georgia, Creighton, they want to run faster. So that's a little bit of a switch. They got to get back to what they usually want to run. So that might help Notre Dame. But I think just the extra possessions that Syracuse can have can give them an opportunity here. So I would take Syracuse here.
I kind of agree. I'm not going to put it up on a listen to Toast. Someone said West Virginia got hot from 3 or they don't cover. Didn't you guys have the first half?
That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said would happen in that game happened. Like literally to a T.
They got hot in the second half?
Yes.
So you guys all won then. You guys had first half. Scoop had West Virginia full game.
Yeah, everybody won that game. Yeah.
All right, Toast, you don't agree with Syracuse.
I know. I've already laid it with Notre Dame already. I got it at 4.5, maybe 4, whatever. So JJ Starling out for Syracuse. Obviously, he's like one of their best players. So I saw the same thing Andy saw. I saw a hype factor with Syracuse that they're a little bit bigger. I think that's going to help in a game that's slowed down. And then everything changed because then I started to take a deeper dive into who Syracuse has played, and teams that Notre Dame has played, and Notre Dame has played some bangers of guys that are big. Georgetown, 10th in height. Creighton, 35th in height. Rutgers, 14th in height. Elon, 2nd in height. North Dakota, 131. The Hoyas are Georgetown, 23rd. Not to mention the fact that Rutgers, Houston, and the Hoyas don't turn the ball over, very similar to Syracuse. So I just feel like Notre Dame has already seen this type of game come their way, whether it be with any of those teams that I just mentioned, especially the Houstons, the Rutgers, and the Georgetown teams that are big and don't turn the ball over a ton. Excuse me. And I think that plays into their advantage here at home against this Syracuse team that I will give you. Like, I thought that they might have a little bit of life against Tennessee, and they got absolutely blown out of the water. That was an away game, so maybe that does something for them. But again, I'm not really huge on this Notre Dame team, but I think they're the better shooting team by far. And I would say that the defenses are maybe a wash at best. I would still give the edge to Notre Dame. But I just feel like if you take the number one player in your program out in JJ Starling, it's really hard to replicate what he's going to be able to do. Now you're asking guys like Chris Bell, Donnie Freeman, and our Lord and Savior, Eddie, I still suck, but I can still play in college, Lampkin. You just can't trust people like that. So for me, I think that this is a spot that Notre Dame finally gets right after losing to Elon, which I understand that doesn't look great, but Elon's one of the biggest, if not the biggest team in the country, not named Duke. That's not an easy game to play. Not to mention Rutgers, Houston, Creighton, and Georgia. I mean, obviously, Georgia's playing out of their mind right now. I mean, they have a really big game tomorrow against Grand Canyon, a game that they should win. But again, if Georgia continues to win over the next week or until the start of the year, Georgia's going to be 12, 13-1. I mean, so that win's going to only look better as well. Our loss is only going to look better as well. So it wasn't close, but I feel like there's a reason that Notre Dame is laying multiple possessions here today. So also, worst thing that possible is that if this game is close late, Notre Dame, one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country, Syracuse, one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the country. Notre Dame for me.
So Andy's on Syracuse. Ronnie's on Syracuse. I got the Rodfather on Syracuse. He says bet against Notre Dame as a home favorite of 3.5 to 6 points. Notre Dame since the 2023 season in those spots, 0-7 against the spread. But wait, there's more. He says bet against Notre Dame on the money line after 5 straight games committing 14 or less turnovers. Notre Dame record in those instances 2-15 against the spread. It's enough for me. I'm down to
What were the years on that? I'm not even making a joke. I just didn't know if it was Mike or Shrewsbury or Mike Bray.
Since 2023. The first one was since 2020, I think.
Okay.
No, they were both since 2023. They were both since 2023. So yeah, I like Syracuse. I'm in. So we're all you know what though? The people in the comments, I mean, the viewers are voting for Notre Dame, so you're not alone, Toast.
It is a really good. I mean, it's a tough situation for Notre Dame. They're they're on a 5-game losing streak right now. This feels like it should be a layup. Syracuse is probably one of the worst teams in the ACC, so it does feel like it should be a layup for them that I think they could miss here. I'll say it. I'm not impressed by Notre Dame at all. I don't think they're as good.
I'm not impressed with Notre Dame at all. But I mean, how many teams that are towards the end of their conference are you going to be impressed if they play Elon, Rutgers, Houston, Creighton, and Georgia back to back to back? How impressive are you going to be?
Too Legit is also on Syracuse. McIver stopped by just came to say go Army, bro. Go to sleep, McIver. It's too late for me to deal with your Army shit right now. Go to sleep. Go to sleep, bro.
There was a second there where I thought your situation was going to happen, where Army won by a lot, and the other game was
right.
They were like, all right, no, neither one of you deserves it.
Yeah, I think obviously there was less than 1% chance, but I think there was a scenario where Army could have gotten in.
I tell you the scenario, Genty gets hurt.
No, I don't think they were getting in over Boise. They would have had to get in over UNLV. UNLV would have had to won in the most disgraceful. Okay, yeah, maybe Genty gets hurt, and that's why UNLV wins. Boise was up 21, Genty get something like that. I think there was a path for that to somehow happen. But anyway, Clemson, Miami. Is this conference play starting? These are all conference games.
The ACC and Big Ten, they do this stupid thing where they play a couple of early December conference games. I don't know why, but they do it. And then they take a break and they play a couple of bad teams again. Then they get back to it in January. SEC doesn't do it. It makes no sense. I don't know why they do it.
So the early votes.
Both of these teams have bangers on deck. Miami plays Tennessee next. Clemson plays Memphis next. So it's just it's such a weird scheduling spot.
You guys know what I'm going with.
I have no idea.
Clemson on the road. That's my shit. Clemson on the road.
Andy,
full disclosure, I don't know shit about this. Hold on.
I honestly think this game's an absolute coin flip. So I'm curious to see what Andy thinks.
Well, I just want to make it clear. I'm only doing this because there was a stretch last year where Clemson went 9-2 against the spread on the road. It was over a 2-month span. They went 9-2 against the spread. It was actually 2.5, 3 months. They went 9-2 against the spread on the road, and I happened to get on it in the beginning. So when you catch something like that, and you I feel like I've been through to hell and back with this team, and they've delivered for me on the road. Clemson on the road, I think of positively. So Clemson on the road, that's where I'm going. I don't know if I bet it or not. Andy?
So these two teams are in complete opposite situations. Clemson, big win at home against Kentucky. Miami probably should have been, not probably, they definitely should have beaten Arkansas. Yeah, they fell off a cliff in that game. So both of these teams are in opposite scenarios. Clemson is a perfect letdown spot. Miami, they need this badly. So that, coupled with the fact, I think Miami can probably score and shoot on anybody. They looked amazing from 3 the other day at home, especially. I think they're going to be able to score. I think Clemson's going to come out flat, and I think that'll be the difference. So I would be on Miami, especially at +4.5. Even if you want to go Miami first half, that'd be fine. But
hold on.
I think Miami could very well win this game. This is going to be a team that Clemson's going to come out flat. I would guess they're going to come out flat. That was an emotional win the other day against Kentucky. That was one of the biggest wins in probably team history in terms of regular season. I know they went on a big run last year.
Especially against Kentucky. Absolutely.
Yeah. At home against Kentucky, they were one of the only ACC teams to win. I mean, it was a perfect situation for Clemson. So now to be playing a team that they're not on paper very good. They can score, but they're not a very good basketball team. They're 310th in defending the 3, and they're 239th in defending the 2. They give up a lot of points, but I just don't think Clemson's offense will be there early. So I'm on Miami.
And by the way, Minnesota's now up 18, which means I could bust out. I can't wait to hit the Discord with this. Were you guys watching earlier with that? I can't wait to hit the Discord with this Steez comment. When I said Minnesota was my top NBA bet, he was like, Kyle goes T-Wolves defense are back, like laughing emojis, like TWD'd me. He TWD'd me.
That. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was my top NBA bet, and I needed it after. I mean, they're up 17 with 3 minutes left, so we're good. I got it at +106. I needed that to stop the bleeding from earlier tonight. So nice finish, Minnesota. And I'm going to troll Steez. Toast.
I didn't put this in because they hadn't been listed and they were just dropped. I like, if you can type this for me, Kyle, Miami team total over 71.5. I don't want to have to worry. You like that, Andy? You like that? Oh, yeah.
I like that one.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're going to score probably over that in every game. That offense is
74?
71. 71.5. Yeah. I agree with whoever's comment that was that Miami is ass. Like I'm not for 1 second trying to make
it was ball talk.
That this team is good. Andy just illustrated about how bad their defense is, especially from 3. And Clemson has been one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country so far this year. What I can tell you about why I trust this Miami offense is obviously all the metrics are show that the Miami is one of the better offenses in the country. But you also seeing this Clemson team that's 17th overall, you might think, man, that's going to be a rough. But they have actually, Miami has seen some very good defenses over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Drake at 51, Oklahoma State at 76, VCU at 14, Arkansas at 21, and now they're seeing Clemson. So I don't think this is going to be anything new for the Miami offense. And they continue to put up points. They put up 80 against Drake, 80 against Oklahoma State, 77 against VCU, excuse me, and 73 against Arkansas. So I just feel like, I'm sorry, it was 69 against Drake, not 80. That was Drake's score. But regardless, they're all hitting around that 70 number. And now you have a Clemson team, like Andy just mentioned, that's coming off one of the biggest wins in program history. Not to mention the fact that Penn State and San Francisco wins on the neutrals out there in Florida. I mean, those were pretty big wins for them as well. So especially after getting kind of mollywopped on the road against Boise State, which was a very hard thing to do, playing 4 games into the season, flying across the country and playing a decent Boise State team. So I don't even really knock Clemson about that. I do think that this game and the next game against Memphis is going to show us if Clemson is a legit top 25 team. If they come into Miami and shut Miami down and win by 10 plus or easy cover or whatever that is, and then they go in and play decent against Memphis, and then we can start looking at Clemson as a team that's probably a true top 25 team. But at the same time, I don't expect I wouldn't mind the over either, but I just want to focus on Miami against this Clemson defense that might be sitting a little bit fat and happy against a Miami team that's still, I mean, it's guards like Shawshank, man. You know how they say. So sooner or later, I just trust Miami to score, especially with Nigel Plack and Jalen Blackman on the seniors running the points. So Miami team total over 71.5 or what have you. I want nothing to do with that Miami defense.
Bad news, guys. Rod's on my side. Bet on Clemson versus good offensive teams, scoring 77 or more points per game. Clemson's record since last year, 17-5 against the spread against teams that score. I like it, Rod. Rod also said, double Clemson parlay tomorrow. Does that mean, I'm assuming he means a double result, Clemson first half full game?
Football team play?
Oh shit! Yeah. Are you're betting both Clemsons? I mean, I like the football Clemson. I'm on the football Clemson.
One last thing, Clemson. I know he brought it up. They played a road game at Boise. They shot very bad. I mean, it was their worst shooting performance of the season in that game. Don't know if that's going to carry through all their road games because they did shoot somewhat well in the neutral sites, but they didn't shoot well on the one true road game they played.
Yeah, it was like 6 for 25 or something like that.
Yeah, they shot all.
All right, let's move on to the next one. And the next game is
Double Clemson, huh?
double Clemson. Oh, we got Rutgers, the Scarlet Knights.
Andy, I got 7.5. I got 7.5 with Rutgers.
Wow.
Even at 5.5, I don't understand this number. I don't get it. Do you think Ohio State's good?
I do think Ohio State's good. That's a different question though.
Interesting.
They're coming. The only thing that worries me, they're coming off getting their asses kicked. I mean, that was non-competitive from the first like 5 minutes. Maybe that lit a fire under them, but like even in their home game this year, they gave up 90 points to Pitt. So like, and that's a Pitt team who didn't have one of their better scorers. Now you're facing a team. I mean, there's not a lot of depth on this Rutgers team, but the top two are going to score. Dylan Harper's going to probably drop 30 tomorrow. So like, I think Rutgers will keep it close. I can't bet it, so like I'm not going to go crazy about it, but I would think they're going to keep it close because they're going to be able to score, and I think a lot of people are going to be able to score on Ohio State's defense. I don't think the defense is very good. I think they built their transfer portal haul was a lot of offense, not a lot of defense. Michi Johnson doesn't play any defense. Like that was a guy. That was one of their biggest hauls. Bruce Thornton also doesn't play any defense, but he's a really.
I was going to say that's the first name that was going to come to my mind.
They have a really good talent. They have a talented team to score 80 points, but they have a really bad team to give up 90. So I don't know how good this team's going to be overall. I think they'll be okay. Probably a tournament team, bubble team. But in this spot, the talent that Rutgers has, they should be able to put up as many points as they want.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Rutgers, I really like the spot here for Rutgers. First of all, I don't really know if Ohio State is the 5th best three-point shooting team in the country. I've actually watched their last 2 games against Pittsburgh and Maryland pretty closely because I had Pittsburgh in the first game, and I think I had Maryland first half or something. I don't remember, but anyway, I watched those games close, and even some of the shots that Ohio State is making from deep just really, really concerns me. And I think that you can make a case if you're looking at, like, especially if you look at this game on KenPom, one thing that's going to jump out to you is that one team, Ohio State, can shoot the lights out from the 3 ball, and one team can't in Rutgers. And Rutgers hasn't really done a really good job of defending the 3. So I went in and I looked for Rutgers, and I went in and looked at their games to see like how many points are they really giving up, or some of these threes that they're giving up are not really worth it. And I find Alabama went 2 for 5. I'm sorry, Texas A&M went 2 for 15. A Texas A&M team, by the way, that put up how many points against Ohio State? Almost 80. I mean, to give up 80 points to Texas A&M, that's a pretty bad defense. Bama went 10 for 25 from deep. Notre Dame went 14 for 33 for them. Monmouth went 13 for 24. I just don't really think that this Rutgers defense is as bad as it looks. I think that a lot of teams, I think some of the worst teams that they played in the blowouts in the beginning of the year hit some threes on them. I don't think that they're defending the 3-point as bad as it makes it out to seem. Not to mention the fact that they've already played a road game here and they've already lost a road game in Kennesaw State. And obviously Ohio State's much better than Kennesaw State, but I think that it helps that Rutgers' last 4 games have been either away or on the road. And 2 of those games were against Alabama and Texas A&M. Both of those teams head and shoulders over Ohio State. They lost the Texas A&M game by 4. They lost the Alabama game by 5 and the Kennesaw State game by 2. I just feel like with Harper and Ace Bailey continuing to get better, and their defense is something with Peichel that I always trust. And another thing that I thought that was really weird is that Rutgers kind of picking up the pace with these point guards. I don't know if that really lasts. I think they're kind of comfortable playing the slow ball that Ohio State's playing. So I just don't see Rutgers in this game getting blown out. So like I said, I took 7.5 when it opened. I would still play it down to at least 5, so you're getting multiple possessions. But Ohio State's not a team, even at home, not a team that I'm willing to lay multiple possessions with. Not to mention the fact Ohio State has their next game on deck is Auburn, which is a really big game for them, obviously, as well.
All right, I can't bet this one. It's a Rutgers game, so let's move on to the next one.
If Peichel starts running a fast pace, I won't know anything about college basketball anymore. That dude,
I know, that's what I'm saying. You got to think they're going to be comfortable slowing down.
Yeah, because that was their thing. I mean, they played a game against Mississippi State last year. I think it was like 50 to 50, like in that range. Like it was a low scoring game. How was that? It was a shitty game. Yeah. This is
Wisconsin, Marquette. This is a cool one. I think Wisconsin kind of sucks, but
Agree.
Kyle, do you swallow your nicotine gum? No, let's take it out. Yo, it's nicotine, so like I'll throw a piece in to chew it like 5 times and take it out and throw it out.
Did you swallow that?
Kind of like lighting a cigarette, just drag it a couple times.
That's what I used to do. I used to love that.
So what do you guys think about this one?
And Andy gets to go first. I say over or pass. Emphasis on the pass.
I saw you said that in the thing. It's the toughest game in my opinion on the board. Not even the last one is tough, as tough as this one. I think this is a really difficult one. I'd lean Wisconsin. I know that in this rivalry, I said that really weird. In this rivalry, it's usually Wisconsin, right? They usually win these games. They dominated. I know that this is a really good Marquette team. But Wisconsin's coming off a tough loss. That loss to Michigan was a difficult one. Although I do think with Michigan, like we talked about before, I think Michigan's probably going to be a really good team. And that was a close loss. I think just rebounding from that, the only thing that worries me, and we talk about this a lot, first true road game for Wisconsin. That's kind of the only thing that scares me. I think they match up well. I think Marquette, in a lot of their games, and especially against good competition, they've just got roasting hot from three. And that you can't always count on that, especially against Wisconsin. So I would just lean Wisconsin. Toughest game on the board. I know it's going to be a really fun one to watch. These teams hate each other. So it'll be fun. But, yeah, I'd probably just lean Wisconsin.
Someone asked over under 1.5 cigarette a day. I haven't smoked a cigarette in like 7-8 years. So definitely under on that. Toast, do you agree that you would lean Wisconsin?
Yeah. Again, it's this one's. I think I agree with Andy. I think this is one of the hardest games to handicap. I just don't know what to expect from this Marquette team, especially from shooting from deep. I mean, their last few games, they've been shooting kind of lights out. I mean, 11 for 31 against Iowa State team from deep. That's a very good defensive team. They went 14 for 40 against Western Carolina. I mean, but that's just absolutely ridiculous. And they almost put 100 points up in that game. But against Georgia, 11 for 27. Against Purdue, 8 for 23. Against Central Michigan, 10 for 36. I mean, so I don't really know what to make of this Marquette team as far as offensively. Cam Jones is the man. Like, there's no question about that. Stevie Mitchell, David Joplin, all these guys. Like, I trust all of them, especially Shaka. But I like Shaka as a dog, not as a multiple possession favorite, especially in a series, which Andy mentioned as well, that Wisconsin is absolutely dominated. I also feel like the only reason that I want to play Marquette is because I feel like if they get up in the run, I think that Wisconsin is going to have a very hard time catching up, especially because Marquette has the size advantage against these guys, and that's not something that usually Wisconsin is usually used to having. But that's a lot of points. It's a lot of points. So I'm curious to see what this lands at, and maybe in the morning. But if this game is somewhat close at all, just reminder, guys, that Wisconsin is the best free throw shooting team in the country. So if this game is close and it's a foul fest, Wisconsin has a huge advantage late in this game. So
I think I'm with Blunt in the comments, man. Marquette at home. I want to go Marquette here.
Well, yeah. I was just about to say that. I'm correcting everybody on this. This is not a true home. This is being played at Pfizer Forum. This is like,
where the hell's that?
This is at an NBA arena in Wisconsin. This is the
Grizzlies, right?
As far as I'm concerned. It's at Pfizer Forum. It's where the Bucks play.
Our Bucks, yeah.
Technically, that's where Marquette plays. But dude, it's in Wisconsin. It's an NBA arena. It's a neutral site.
That is. But wait, hold on. It's where Marquette plays their home games.
Technically Marquette plays.
Is it where they play their home games or not?
Yes, but my point is, it's an NBA arena in Wisconsin. There's going to be probably more Wisconsin fans there.
But it's a home game for Marquette.
All right.
So you're saying there won't be home field advantage because there's Wisconsin fans.
Well, it's just like saying there's going to be no Mets fans at the Yankees game. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's going to be Mets fans at a Yankees game.
Here's perfect.
Not the same home field
because
advantage.
Mets fans are more loyal. Mets fans are more loyal.
100% agreed. So I'm just trying to give an example.
Where's Helms when you need him? Like, Helms is good for nothing. He could answer this question.
Baby.
All right, so we got Rodfather. He says bet on Marquette in home games after 2 straight games giving up 9 or less offensive rebounds. All right. Bet on Marquette in home games after 2 straight games giving up 9 or less offensive rebounds. Marquette since last season in those instances 5-0 against the number. So, all right, I'm with Rod on Marquette here.
That so just call.
Where does Rod dig those out of, man? Like, where does he get those? All right, next up. Toast is in a situation here. On one side, he has his beloved Zags. On the other side, he has a team that he literally refers to as the Avengers. And to take it a step further, Kentucky catching points is a play-on situation, as we discussed. You don't fade Kentucky catching. You don't lay points to Kentucky. So what does Toast do?
I laid -4.5 with Gonzaga as soon as it opened, boys.
At open?
Yep. So everybody knows it on the homer. I mean, I guess, I can go first if you want, but
Yeah, go ahead.
I was kind of curious to see what Andy had to say on this one to see if I was crazy or not. So this is going to be back-to-back games for us. Gonzaga in Seattle. I'm sorry, not in Seattle. One of them in Seattle. One of them's in Madison Square Garden. So both of these games are not at home for Gonzaga. The only reason that I'm comfortable with that is because they do this all the time. Gonzaga is one of the best scheduling schools in the country. They always schedule these games like this. I mean, obviously already they've played Baylor, Arizona State, West Virginia. Obviously some of those were in a tournament, but scheduled Kentucky, scheduled UConn, scheduled UCLA. I mean, this team just doesn't worry about it. Mark Few doesn't worry about any type of scheduling like that. As far as this game is concerned, I think that, again, Kentucky is going to be put in the same type of situation as they were in Clemson, where is that not only can Gonzaga run with these guys, and if they try to run with Gonzaga, it's going to be bad news because this is what Gonzaga does is they run. I think that Mark Pope and Kentucky are going to continue to get better, and guys like Jackson Robinson and Amari Williams and LeBron Butler and Kirk Kriisa and Colby Rea. I mean, they're all very, very good. But the fact of the matter is that Gonzaga defensively is one of the best teams in the country. And offensively, obviously, they're one of the best teams in the country. And I just think it's going to be really hard for Kentucky to make another cross-country trip here and play a team where they usually have a big height advantage and they usually have a big experience advantage on most teams. And they're just not going to have that here against Gonzaga. I will say the guards for Kentucky are a little bit bigger than Gonzaga's. I mean, Lamont Butler is 6'2", Kirk Kriisa is 6'3", Jackson Robinson's like 6'6", Ortega or whatever that kid's name is like 6'4". But Nolan Hickman and Ryan Nembhard are probably two of the best point guards in America. And regardless if they're 6 feet and 6'2", it doesn't really matter. Not to mention the fact that Dusty Stormy is 6'6", Khalif Battle is 6'5", Ben Gregg is 6'10", Ayayi 6'7". I just don't worry about the height situation as far as Kentucky brings to this game. So I think that Gonzaga is going to be able to control the pace here today. I just think it's a really, really hard spot for Kentucky to go all the way to Clemson, come home for a couple of days and fly all the way across the country into what it is, a semi-NBA arena, I guess you want to call it or whatever. It's definitely not a college arena. So, yeah, I think Gonzaga wins by multiple possessions here today. I think that Kentucky thing as a dog was more of a Calipari thing than anything. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me, Andy. But the fact of the matter is that Kentucky looked really good against Duke in their one neutral game. They've had 0 tests besides that except for Clemson, and they lost that game by 4. They could have lost that game by 10 or 15. So until Kentucky shows me that they're good on the road against quality competition, there's no chance. It's 6.5 now.
That's what Andy made the graphic. I don't know if it's actually 6.5.
Woo!
I mean,
if it gets to 7, play Kentucky, guys.
Our poll is pretty split. It's 52% Zags, 48% Kentucky. But as far as the people commenting, Ball Talks on the Zags, Blunts on the Zags. Actually 5 stars on Kentucky. Who else? If
Gonzaga hadn't had I would be more concerned. I also would be more concerned if Gonzaga didn't lose to West Virginia. I just feel like it's going to be hard to find Gonzaga in a sleepy spot. That's what I will say, because it was supposed to be, if you're listening to Gonzaga sports radio or whatever, if they don't lose to that West Virginia game, people were talking about this team not losing a game all season. So I'm not in that group, but that's how good this team is. That's how shitty their schedule is when they get into the West Coast Conference play. Obviously, they've played a lot of good games prior to that. But again, I think that you're going to get the best effort you can probably get against Gonzaga, or from Gonzaga here today against Kentucky.
Andy, do you think that was objective analysis, or is that some homer shit?
I think it was objective enough. Don't worry. You're going to hear me talk about Georgia on the SEC Championship tomorrow. It's not going to be objective.
No bias, though.
No bias on the SEC, though. Kentucky has not lost back-to-back non-conference games since 2021. And in that season, it was a COVID year in which they went 9-16 because they had a lot of injuries and they didn't really recruit that well because it was COVID. Before that, they lost to Utah and Ohio State the year before. They don't lose back-to-back non-conference games, but again, and that was Calipari. I don't know that that's Mark Pope. I don't know that he's going to carry that along. I don't know that he's going to be able to continue that.
Well, it's also just really quickly. It's not like they schedule like Gonzaga either. I mean,
don't worry.
I'm just saying, they lost to Kansas. They lost to Kansas. Then they win against Stonehill. They lose to UNC Wilmington. Then they beat 10.
I was gonna say, because if you do read the schedule, last year they had one. I think they put NC State in the middle. But again, it is what it is. It's non-conference games. But here, this is Mark Pope. This is a different Kentucky team. I do think they match up well. If you're going to take a total, I'd probably take the over. I think this is going to be a fast – I mean, it's obviously going to be a fast-paced game. I think shots are going to fall. But I'd probably just lean Kentucky. Honestly, if I think there's going to be a lot of points scored, if I think it's going to be a close game at 6.5, probably might get to 7. I think people are getting crazy. I would take Kentucky. I think this Kentucky team, I think they're going to fall in the AP poll, which, again, people don't like the AP poll. I do. I think they're going to fall back a little bit. I still think they're one of the top 3 teams in the country. I think these two teams could win the national championship. I think they're very evenly matched. We've seen Gonzaga's worst fastball against the 3 specifically more in regulation. They were really bad against West Virginia against the 3. Wound up the numbers look pretty good actually because overtime I don't think West Virginia shot very well. Still won the game. But that overall we saw their worst game. It was a neutral site. This isn't technically, I mean, I guess it is a neutral site, but it's really close to Gonzaga. Yeah, I just think we've seen what Gonzaga can do against a team that could shoot. And if it happens again, I think it would happen against Kentucky, right? They're the best team they're going to play left. They have UConn next week. I guess maybe you could look towards that trip. But no, I would go with Kentucky. I think we just saw them have their worst moment. They still were competitive in that game too. But yeah, coming off that game, I think Kentucky's going to come in with a hot streak, a hot start, especially because we've also seen them play well against Duke too. We've seen both of these teams play pretty well against good competition, so I'm not worried about either team sleeping through this one.
Well, I mean, Toast said he grabbed Gonzaga at 4.5 at open. So now you can get a juice 5.5. It's mostly 6.5. Why don't we just wait this out and try to get a Kentucky +8 or something tomorrow?
I was going to say, there's no way in hell I'd lay Gonzaga -5 or anything over 6. Like, that's just, that's getting crazy. 5.5 is kind of like a whoa type of thing for me. So I didn't think it was going to move like this, but it is what it is.
So you got a 4.5. Let's see. I'm going to look at the line right now. It's at, that's Northern Kentucky. Kentucky, Gonzaga. Okay, no, it's. I see a 6, I see a 5.5, and I see 6.5. So it's anywhere between 5.5 and 6.5. So the 4.5s are definitely gone. But yeah, if it's moving clearly in one direction, maybe I can get a 7. I'll bet Kentucky though. Kentucky's cool. Kentucky's been good to me, betting them as underdogs.
I definitely, especially if anybody gets 7, you won't hear an argument out of me. Not even close.
Whoa, hold on. Rod's got something here. He says, love the first half over as the Zags will be mad after laying an egg.
Well, they didn't lay an egg. They
did.
Destroyed Davidson. But
the West Virginia game was 2 games ago.
Yeah, 3. But yeah. The only reason I don't condone the first half over is because it is a big arena, and so maybe it takes them a little bit to get their shots falling, and then the pace plus the fouls in the second half would probably help with that over. But that's
all right.
Never know.
Do we want to do a community top bet real quick? I have some NFL stuff to go through before I go to sleep, but we could do a quick poll, see what the community's top bet is.
That UConn Gonzaga game is going to be insane.
So
I've already looked up flights. I'm trying to figure it out.
It's gonna be interesting. I might actually go too that night. Credit. I know you hate Dan Hurley, and I know you hate UConn. Credit to them.
Not that I hate him, but
yeah, they played Baylor. Now they're going on a flight Sunday. They're playing at the Moody Center in Texas. That's not an easy place to play. And then they play Gonzaga. Credit to them for scheduling tough. If they win both of those games, we're right back to them being a top 10 team. So that is
credit to UConn with the 293rd strength of schedule. I mean, they are just a scheduling nightmare.
They haven't played their tough games yet. That's what I'm telling you.
Well, yeah. I mean, playing Rodney Terry team is just so terrifying.
On the road, you're missing on the road. I'm going to Moody Center later this year. I'll tell you how tough it is.
Please bet Texas against UConn, Andy.
Please, he says.
All
right,
I don't know why you hate Texas so much.
I don't. I hate Rodney Terry as a head coach. I think he's an absolute joke.
He did fall into that position. I agree.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't go from Fresno State and UTEP to Texas, and then all these guys from Texas, you really didn't even recruit yourself. Again, I'm sure he helped Chris Beard, but at the same time,
kind of like Ryan Day.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Great analogy.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, end poll. Clemson -4.5, and then we'll go to see what the last couple here are. So
and my thing with Hurley is he's just not the same guy. He was a likable guy like the first year, maybe a little bit of the second year. Now it's all the Hurley show. It's how can I get my 1, 2, 3, da 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 da. It's him getting technical. It's him cussing out everybody. It's just turned into something that's an absolute joke, and he looks like a joke on the sidelines. So.
He should have taken
He lost them the Memphis game, and he's the one that's bitching about it. Like, it's just absolutely blows my mind.
How was it his fault?
Because there was a tie game in overtime, and he got a technical because he got mad about a foul call. And he's Mr. Hurley, and he's going to let you have it.
Who got a technical yesterday? Painter got a bad technical the other day.
Dude's a joke. Absolutely.
You don't hate him, though.
He's a joke. I didn't hate him until this year, but it's turned into something it's just absolutely nothing. Like he honestly, he's had 2 or 3 years of a good recruiting class and an offensive genius in Mr. Murray to help him out. But besides that, let's not keep in mind, he did absolutely nothing at Rhode Island. He did absolutely nothing at Wagner. He had 2 good years at UConn. Before that, he had 2 first-round exits at UConn. It's going to continue. This dude cannot coach like everybody thinks he can. I'm telling you guys right now. He had 2 very good years, and I promise you, a dead clock is right twice a day. I'm done.
You used that before for yourself, too.
All right.
It's my favorite thing.
It's between Clemson -4.5 and Marquette -6.5 for the community's favorite bet of the show. Rod Father says, bet on Kentucky in away or neutral games on the money line versus excellent teams. Teams that shoot 45% or greater from the floor with a defensive field goal percentage of 42% or less. Kentucky's record against said teams since the 2023 season, 6-1.
Both of those. Alabama's probably a couple of those games.
Yeah.
Well, Tennessee.
Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama.
Auburn, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
I'm so excited. Tennessee was a big one.
I'm so excited to see what the comments and everybody has to say about Clemson tomorrow, the Clemson football game tomorrow.
They're pretty split. I uploaded that video. I'd say the comments are about 60-40 SMU, but there's definitely a lot of people betting Clemson. It's not one-sided.
That's my favorite game of the day, I think. More than the Georgia game. I'm so excited for that game.
I don't know, bro. I mean, if
people are gonna be really mad when Clemson wins that game.
I don't know, because like if Clemson wins, then Alabama's out.
I disagree. I think they're going in.
They're not leaving SMU out, dude.
I couldn't read what the comment said, but somebody mentioned Cam Spencer, and that just goes to show you how off of his rocker Danny Hurley is. I mean, to go from him to Aiden Mahaney is just an absolute stand-up. He should have his own stand-up comedy special on Netflix. It's an absolute joke. Has Aiden Mahaney even played the last couple games? I mean, I know he's so good.
Toast, someone asked earlier, if you said you've been on fire with your first half bets. They want to know if you had a first half bet for the people.
No, but I promise I will drop them in the Discord. I'm sure it's a few people, but yes, I've been very hot with my first half bets.
He likes them first halves. All right, so the community top bet is Clemson -4.5. Let me go so I can do some NFL stuff. See you all tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time. It'll be me, Andy, and Scoop for football, and then it's just going to be you two for college basketball. Scoop has to go. So... so are there college basketball Saturdays from here on out now?
Pretty much, yeah.
So next week there is, and then I think it takes a break because once college football comes back, they don't play big games.
So when does like the college basketball Saturdays start, where we're doing the big show?
Once January starts, every Saturday.
Yeah, those are fucking
the 15th,
fun, dude.
The 15th or whatever is a pretty good
play. I won't be here next. But
those Saturdays are that's when I get into college basketball. Those Saturdays are so fun. Going through 25 really games, they're freaking awesome.
Yeah. It's like an MLB slate on Saturdays. It's just for everything you can possibly get in.
For those of you that are new to college basketball, the way we do our college football show on Saturday, basketball for college, it's the same way. They all play on Saturday. I messed with the beard, Kyle. Thanks, man. All right, everyone have a good night. Sorry for the college football losses. Hopefully you got the Timberwolves and got a few of those dollars back. I know I did. See you all tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Yeah. Have a good one, guys. See you in the